Ja, min, Carl from Purple Misplaced. Today I'm taking a look at Dorasure. That's short for Dragon Sureya, or Dragon Slayer, from designer KTR and publisher Giant Hobby out of Japan. This is one of those sort of legendary Japanese board games that every time I go into stores in Japan or search online for games in Japan to play, this one pops up, or this one is on the shelves in the stores, and it's one I've had my eye on for quite a while. Really wanted to add it to the collection, but for whatever reason I just kept passing over it. It is a sort of D&D style hex crawl adventure, dice rolling for skill check kind of cooperative game. And it's one, again, that I've been looking at for quite some time and just never bit the bullet or picked up to play until I saw a video on YouTube from a channel called Legion W where they actually interviewed the guys at Giant Hobby. And I'd never realized it, but Giant Hobby started off sort of like a Games Workshop Japan kind of minis, skirmish game kind of store, and then they decided to design their own game. Well, they took those minis and instead made a board game, which is this one right here, Dorasure. And after watching that video, I was really interested in it. And sure enough, I did find this game on Noble Knight. So again, if you don't know, this channel is sponsored by Noble Knight Games, a wonderful game store in Wisconsin that also has a wonderful online presence. Great trade-in program, and because of that, a really great used collection, which also surprisingly to me, and maybe to all of you, some really great hidden gem Japanese games show up there occasionally as well. So I did manage to snag a copy of this on Noble Knight Games. Again, thank you Noble Knight Games for sponsoring this channel. If you do want to support this channel a bit and you are buying some games, please use the affiliate link down below to make some purchases on Noble Knight Games. It does help out the channel and does mean that I can keep bringing fun stuff like this to the channel. In any case, I do finally have my hands on this game, and now I've been playing it quite a bit, both multiplayer and solo. Let me take you down to the table to show you how this one plays, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. To set up a game of Dorasure, begin by placing the game board out onto the table. Next, you're going to take the 5 sort of reward tiles, giving those a good shuffle, and then placing out one of those at each of these sort of red bordered spaces here, here, and here. Next, you're going to take the 7 quest tiles that look like this with the mountain on the back, giving those a shuffle as well. And you're going to place one of those on each of the 5 green reward tiles that were just placed out, putting the last 2 remaining quest tiles back into the box. And then finally turning this one here, the furthest away from the city, face up to show the quest. And I'll explain what that means in a bit later when we get into the rules of the game. But continuing to set up the sort of main play area, I need to place out these damage markers for when we do damage to the dragon. These success markers for marking some of the quests when we do have partial successes. This burning Belk tile for the case that Belk might catch fire or be burned by the dragon. And the 2 sets of white and black dice, also placed down here off to the side. Then finally, to finish setup of the main board, I need to set up the dragon themselves. And to do so, I'm going to place this red stone down here at the first space of this dragon track, as well as place out this red die that will be used for the dragon when they do attack us later on. Then to continue setting up the game, we do need to choose our character. Now, this game in the base core box is not purely soloable, or there is no strictly one character solo play. There are expansions that will allow for that to happen, but I'm just showing off the base box here, so I will be playing with 2 characters for this playthrough. And the game does come with 5 different characters. I'll show them all to you up close later on, but there are the ninja, the paladin, the hunter, the prince, and finally the gladiator. And I'm going to just shuffle them at random and select 2 for this playthrough. So for this playthrough, I will be playing with the ninja as well as the prince. All right, so we're going to have a ninja and prince team up this time to try and take down the dragon, which means we will then take the minis for both the ninja and the prince, which are these 2 right here, and I will place both of them out in the city down here. And this city is 3 hexes, but it all basically exists as one space on the map that is then connected to all of the spaces adjacent to it. But I'll explain more about that as we get into gameplay. Finishing up the setup of these boards, there are 3 different colored stones that I'm going to place out. One to track experience points, one to track health, and one to track resources for each character. And the book doesn't really explain which color should be used for which, so I don't know if there's a specific order that it should be done in. But I'm going to place out these clear stones on the starting experience, which will always be 0 for all characters. But that is written here on the board. Starting XP is 0. Next, taking the blue stones for the health. The ninja will be starting with 4 health, which is also his max life. And the prince as well starts with 4 health. Also the prince's max life. This is going to be an interesting challenge this time. I don't know how well we're going to do. The prince is a sort of a unique character, but it will still show off the game, so we'll see how it works. It could be a fun play. And then finally, we're going to use these yellow stones here to mark off resources. But actually, I am going to need 3 because the prince is going to have a unique style in that the prince actually has 2 separate resources. So for the ninja, they are using ninjutsu, or these sort of ninja scrolls. And it says here that they're starting at 1 scroll available, but they have a max level of 2 scrolls for right now, potentially boosted to 3 when I level them up. And the prince actually has 2 different resources. They've got sort of followers and money. And I'm going to start the game with 1 money and no followers. And I'll explain how all the resources work in just a minute when we get into gameplay, but that is that as far as setup is concerned. So let's go ahead and get into the game. So Dorasure will play out over an indeterminate number of turns, with us sort of exploring this board, attempting to go on different quests, as well as sort of adventuring in the random lands around in order to level up our characters. And then either the dragon's going to be completely angered and attack us, or we will have completed all 5 quests and go on to attack the dragon, and we will basically then go into a final standoff against the dragon, hoping to destroy the dragon, hoping that we've leveled our characters up enough and that we've prepared ourselves enough that we can take down the dragon. And the way that it's going to work is, on our turn, we're going to first roll a number of dice equal to our movement value here in this first column. The ninja has a movement of 4, the prince has a movement of 3, and we're going to roll that number of dice. And any 6s that come out in that roll will anger the dragon. We're going to move this stone 1 space forward for every 6 that is rolled in our movement roll. And anytime this red gem hits one of these sort of flame spots, the dragon is going to take some kind of action, rolling this die and then consulting this table down here to see exactly what it is that the dragon does. But the dragon will do things like burning Belk, damaging us, stealing our resources, or sending us all back to the city. Then after we've triggered any dragon attacks that we need to, we're going to take a look at the dice that were rolled in that movement roll. And the values of the dice are going to determine what types of terrain we're able to walk through. So at a value of 2 or higher, we can walk along roads and into towns or cities. With a value of 3 or higher, we can spend a die to move through these sort of plains areas. And with a value of 5 or higher, we can use that die to move into forest spaces. And after completing our move, we're going to choose one action to take on that turn, or simply choose to pass for the turn. The first action we can take is, if we are in any of the plains areas or in the forest areas, we can roll a skill check against our adventuring value. And you can see that each player's adventure is split into 2 different values. The ninja has a 1 in the plains and a 3 in the forest, and the prince is a 2 in the plains and a 1 in a forest. And those values are going to be the number of dice that I'm rolling, hoping to get successes. And the way that the success system works in this game, when you roll for a skill check, any value of 4 or higher is considered a success. If you roll a 1, that counts as a -1 success. And if you roll a 6, you're actually going to sort of start a cascading explosion of dice, rolling an additional 1 die for every 6 that you've rolled. And those additional dice that are rolled will be counted successes at a value of 2 or higher rather than a value of 4, but again, a 1 will still count as a negative success. And in the case of an adventure, we're going to check this table over here. If I have -1 success or fewer, I'm going to take a damage. 0 successes means nothing happens. 1 success means I get an experience point, but I also take a damage. And 2 successes means I simply get 1 experience point. And every time I get an experience point, I will move up 1 on the experience track. And every time I cross from one color into the next, I will level up, gaining some kind of level. So for the ninja, level 1 will get me an additional 1 value for my sort of exploration skill. Level 2 will get me an additional 1 value for my attack skill. And when I get to level 3, it's going to allow me to hold up to 3 resources and then also give me 1 free resource as that's triggered. For the prince, level 1 will increase both attack and exploration by 1. Level 2, again, both attack and exploration by 1. And level 3, again, both attack and exploration by 1. But for the prince, the level will also determine something about the resources, but let me continue explaining how everything works, and I will come back to explain the resources after I've done that. So instead of going on an adventure after my movement, I could instead choose to, if I'm adjacent to one of these unrevealed mountains, I can sort of explore to see what that quest is, meaning I simply flip over the tile, and that is the end of my action for the turn. If I end my turn next to one that's already been revealed, I can choose to go on that quest. And when I go on that quest, I'm going to take a look at the quest. And in this case, the quest says a sort of evil chimera that I have to battle against. This one says I'm checking my attack skill, and I need to have 2 successes to succeed. And the way that's going to work is the same way as I explained for the adventure, except I'm rolling a number of dice equal to my attack value, which is a 2 right now for the ninja, and only a 1 right now for the prince. And if I can get 2 successes, I will clear this quest. Anytime I clear a quest, I get 2 experience points, and I will also reveal whatever that reward tile is underneath that quest. In addition, some of the quests will have certain things written on them. For this chimera, it says, every time I attempt this quest, I'm going to take a damage, and anytime I fail means I don't complete all of the successes needed, I will also take a damage. But it's worth mentioning that if I only do 1 success here, I will mark it with 1 success so that the next time I try this, I will only need 1 further success to complete it. But remembering for this particular quest, every time I attempt it, I'm taking a damage. And every time I fail to complete it, I will take 1 damage. So while we're talking about the different skill rolls, there are 3 different skills: attack, sort of exploration, and this sort of education, intelligence kind of skill. And when I'm rolling for skills, I'm always going to be rolling a number of dice equal to the value of that skill that that character has. But I can always choose to spend resources to add additional die, or additional dice, for a sort of exchange rate of 1 resource per die. So I can spend as many resources as I want to in order to roll extra dice, in order to potentially get more successes on that roll that I'm trying. I should point out, however, though, that resources can also be spent to block damage against you. So sometimes it's worth holding on to the resources so that you can prevent damage from attacks or from some of these sort of retaliatory damages that you take when doing quests. And then again, when you succeed on a quest, you're going to get whatever the reward is under that quest. Let me show you what the 4 different types of rewards are. I said 5 because there are 2 of this one here, which is the sort of dragon's secret lair. And every time I find one of these dragon's secret lair tiles, I will deal 1 damage to the dragon, placing one of these onto this damage track above the dragon's picture. And you'll notice that some of these have claws on them. And this is for the final battle against the dragon. When one of these gets covered during the final battle, that means the dragon is going to counterattack you and cause some kind of damage based on this table right here. But in the case that I find 2 of these hideouts, I will be covering this one with the claw and not taking any damage. So that's a great advantage for us if we can find that tile before going into that final battle against the dragon. The other 3 options, or the other 3 things we can find, are this sort of book about the dragon. This just gives all of the players 1 experience point when it's found. We've got this weapon that's strong against dragons, or these sort of dragon-killing weapons. And what this does is it's simply going to give us all a +1 to our attack value, our skill attack value, in that final battle against the dragon. So we will be potentially doing more damage against the dragon in our skill checks during that final battle. And then finally down here, this last one is some kind of special treasure from the dragon, and that's going to be different for each of our characters. That is the last thing that sort of differentiates the characters. For the ninja, their treasure is a once per turn use. During that final battle against the dragon, they can re-roll their dice. Before adding in extra dice from the sixes, they can re-roll their dice once per turn in that final phase. The prince actually doesn't have a treasure. Instead, when that treasure is revealed, the prince is going to get 3 resources added to their money resource. So that's the only way the prince will ever get money, is when we find that treasure, he will get 3 money resources. And I mentioned the resources can be spent to either add dice when doing skill checks or to block against damage, but each character is going to have a different kind of resource, but more importantly, a different way to refresh their resources. For the ninja, once per turn, if they enter a forest space, I can earn 1 resource, assuming I have space to hold that resource. The prince is going to act quite interestingly and differently than most of the characters. They've got 2 different resources because they don't have that special sort of treasure from the dragon. Again, they're starting with 1 money, and when they find the treasure, they will gain 3 more money, but otherwise they will never ever gain more money. The only way the prince is getting resources are followers. And the followers for the prince are actually going to depend on the level of the prince. At the start of every turn, and this doesn't happen during the dragon battle, only during this sort of exploration phase, at the start of every turn, the number of followers is going to refill up to the value or the level number that the prince is currently at. So right now he's not having any followers, but as soon as I get to level 1, every turn he will have 1 follower. When I get to level 2, every turn he will have 2 followers, and level 3, when I get to level 3, he will have 3 followers. So I really want to level him up so I can have more resources to help him get better along the way, because also his skills are increasing quite dramatically as we go. So that's basically all there is to the game. You'll see more how it plays. Except one more thing. There is a final action. If you end your turn in a town or a city, you can rest. And when you rest, you simply increase your health by 2 up to your maximum health or less. But otherwise, again, the game is going to play out over this exploration phase with us trying to level up as much as possible before going into the dragon battle, hoping that the dragon doesn't get angry enough to attack us before we've finished doing that. And then after either we've cleared all 5 quests or the dragon has become completely angered, we will go into a final battle against the dragon, pointing out though that if he does get to this rampage space and the battle is triggered from the dragon, he will actually attack us twice before we get a chance to do anything in that final battle, which is going to be likely very devastating to us. During that exploration phase, should any one character die, that could potentially be the end of the game. But we will have the chance to do what's called a miraculous revival. So again, during that exploration phase, if someone dies, we're going to attempt for a resurrection. And to do that, everyone, including the person who died, is going to roll 1 die. And if there are any 6s that are rolled, that character is resurrected. Their life is reset to their starting life amount, and they return to the city. And then also, as that character is revived, all other characters will lose all of their resources down to 0. And if more than one character does die at the same time, one of these revival rolls will trigger everybody coming back. But if that person isn't, or people aren't resurrected or revived from death, then the game instantly ends before going to battle against the dragon. However, in the final battle against the dragon, all of our characters must be destroyed for us to lose. Otherwise, if we do manage to damage the dragon all the way to this last spot, we will win. It is worth mentioning, however, on this last space where the dragon does attack us, no matter how much damage we do, we must stop there. So this final red space must be dealt as an additional final blow in order to kill the dragon. So that's basically all there is to the game, but you'll see more of the nuance come out as I play through. So let's go ahead and get started. If the ninja is in the game, the ninja is always the starting player, so we will be starting with the ninja. In the case that we're not playing with the ninja, it would then be the hunter, the gladiator, and then the prince. But we do have the ninja, so we are starting with the ninja. The ninja has a movement value of 4, so I'm going to take 4 dice, rolling those. And we've got 2, 3, 3, 4, so no 6s, no angry dragons, which is great. Gens, 2s only let us move on roads or towns. 3s and 4s will let me move on plains. Nothing lets me go into the forest at the moment, which is a little bit of a shame because the ninja is quite weak in the plains, but I'm gonna start heading them up this way. 1, 2, 3 like that, using those 3 dice. 3, 3, and 4, moving to there. And I don't really want to waste their turn. I could have them look at this location. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Let's see what this is. And the ninja has discovered a mysterious inscription that requires an intelligence check of 2, or 2 successes on an intelligence check. There is nothing special about this quest, but the ninja is also quite not so special in intelligence, so I don't suspect they're going to be doing that. But the prince, however, does have a 3 in intelligence, so he may head up that way next. So that's the end of the ninja's turn. Rolling for the prince. He only has a movement of 3. So we roll 3, and there is our first 6. Dragon gets angry, and we do trigger an attack from the dragon, rolling on the dragon action table. And I did roll into a pile of tokens, so I'm going to count that as not a roll. There's a 4. It says everybody's going to roll 1 die. Whoever rolls the lowest value will take 2 damage. All right, so I'm going to roll. Let me set these off to the side so I don't bump them. Rolling white for the ninja, black for the prince. The lower value is white. The ninja takes 2 damage already. All right, then we do have 6, 3, 3. And I think with those numbers then, a 3 will take me to the road, a 6 will take me into the forest. Like that. And I'm going to attempt to do that. So already I'm going to roll 3 dice. I'm trying to get 2 successes, but realistically, it doesn't hurt me if I try multiple times. It doesn't hurt me if I fail there. Nothing special about that. So I'm not going to waste that unreturning or unrefillable resource. So I'm just going to roll the 3 dice. And I've got 1, 1, 4. That's a positive 1, but then -2. That's a -1 success. Nothing happens, but also nothing bad happens. All right, then back to the ninja rolling on movement. Wow, double 6, 2, 3 means we go up 2 more times there. That stinks, but double 6 does allow him to go into the forest. I'm a little bit worried because they're already down to 2 damage, 2 health. But I don't care right now. I'm going to use that 6 to move into the forest. Moving into the forest gets him a resource. And then we're going to check this. Let's see what we've got. Riddle of the Sphinx says intelligence, but just 1 success. I cannot cooperate. I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but if more than 1 character is adjacent to one of these quests, we can actually do the quest together, and both of us would roll skill checks and we'd add up together all of our successes. But if we succeed in that way, each character gets 1 XP instead of one person getting 2. But this one particularly, you cannot cooperate on. It must be done by 1 person. And also, if you fail, you take 2 damage. So I'm going to definitely not let the ninja do that one, because that's a great one for the prince, potentially. So that is the end of the ninja's turn. We'll see what happens in between turns, but the ninja may take a detour to Belk to heal up before heading over to other stuff. All right. Then, prince's turn, rolling 3 dice. And I rolled 2, 3, 5, yay, no 6s. He's not going anywhere, though, because I really want to do that. And I'm already here. But I might as well move 1 space closer to that one so I don't have to go through a forest on a future turn. I'm rolling 3 again to try and succeed twice on that one. Please. And I get 6, 4, and 2. That's great. That's success, and success is 2 successes. I did succeed on that quest. And our reward is finding 1 dragon hideout. So I'm going to put that back there. And we will do then 1 damage to the dragon like that. And that also then means the prince gets 2 experience points, 1, 2, Means now he's level 1, so at the start of every turn he will get 1 follower, but now also his attack is 2 and his exploration is also 2. Back to Ninja. Yeah, 5, 5, 3, and there's another 6. Dragon is angry. 5. Everybody rolls a die. Whoever rolls the highest value takes 2 damage. Well, let's hope it's not the ninja, although we can block some damage. Let's set that to the side. Again, white for ninja, black for prince. Whoever gets the higher value takes 2 damage. It is the ninja. So I am going to need to block 1. And I will take 1 damage. And now the ninja is going to do this. 5, 6 into the forest so they can heal, not heal, get a resource, and then into town, and they will rest. So that means they get 2 health back and 1 more resource back. But they're not gaining any experience at all yet so far. Back to Prince. 4, 5, 5, great roll. He does get 1 follower now because he's level 1. And I will use, that was a 5. 2 dice to move over here, and I am going to attempt that. Again, I only need 1 success, but if I fail, I take 2 damage, and this refills every turn, so I might as well use it. Rolling 4 dice, hoping for a single success. And we've got 4, 5, 4 is 3 successes, yay. The riddle of the Sphinx has been solved. Good on you, Prince. And we found the dragon book. So we each get 1 experience, plus he gets the 2 experience for having finished that quest. So 1, 2, 3 like that puts him to level 2. He's now got a 3 attack and a 3 exploration. Means he'll also be getting 2 followers each turn. And the ninja gets 1 XP. Like that. Cool. All right, Ninja's turn. Come on, no more dragons, Mr. Ninja. And of course he rolls another dragon. 2, 3, 5, 6. That goes up 1 more. And I think I will do 3, 5, 6 like that. It's not going to matter because I'm already at full resources unless I'm level 3, but I'm going to zoom over there. And that means he's got an attack of 2, which is not great because I need a 2 to beat that. And every time I try it, I'm taking damage. So instead, yeah, I'm changing up what I just did. No, I'm not. I'm going to stay there. But instead of doing this, I'm just going to go on an adventure, which means I roll 3 dice. Because if I can get a 1 or higher, I will get an XP. And if I can get a 2 or higher, I'll get an XP without taking damage. And since I'm already full, I might as well use one of those. So I'm rolling 4. And wow. 3, 5, 6, 6 means I get 2 additional dice from the 2 6s. 5, 6 means another die from the 6. And a 1 is a negative, but that's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Minus 1 is 4 successes. I easily get my 1 XP. And now his exploration is up to a 4 instead of a 3. Like that. Prince moves again. Geez, with the 6s this time, 1 more like that. Prince gets 4, 5, 6. I need to book it across the world, but it's a shame. He's already full here. This goes up to level 2 now. So I might as well try and explore in a forest. No, he's just gonna move through. No, wait a minute. He right now has an attack of 3. Let's send him up this way. I don't think I'm going to explore the forest because he's only got 1 adventuring skill in the forest, and I'd rather not take damage because if I can get a quest done, he automatically goes to level 3 anyway, so that's good enough for him. Ninja. No 6s, that's great. 2, 3, 3, 5. All right, so we're going to do this a little bit funnily. I'm going to go 3. 2 lets me go into a town. 5 lets me go into the forest. Doing that gets him his resource back. And I'm going to then reveal this quest, which is a giant underground labyrinth. Exploration 3, which is great because he's got a 4 exploration skill right now. But this says, once I've started this mission, or once I've started this quest, I cannot take any other actions. It means I can't move anywhere else, I can't go heal, I can't do anything until I have finished this quest. So that's fine for now because it doesn't do any damage to me even if I fail. But if the dragon starts hitting me, it does mean then I can't run away to heal at a town. But that is his turn. Prince's turn. 115. I can't go anywhere with the 115 because 1s are useless for movement, so I'm just going to take a 5 and go there. And yeah, again, I'm not exploring in the plains. It's not worth it. Ninja moves. 1, 2, 2, 5. No reason to go anywhere. I'm already at full resource, so I don't need to do anything with the ninja. All right then, so rolling for this giant underground labyrinth. We're rolling for exploration. He's got a 3 + 1 is a 4. But I am going to use a resource to get a 5. I need to get 3 successes to succeed here. I right now have 2 - 1, but I did explode once. As long as this is anything but a 1, we're good. No, I need 3 successes. I'd love a 6 and another explode. That's a 1. It means 2 - 2 is 0. Nothing happens. That's a shame. All right, Prince's turn. 2, 2, 3. And they had 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. They're there. But with a 2, 2, 3, I still can't get to where I want to be. And I don't want him caught there. I can't get to the forest. I could come down here and help out. But I want the ninja to get all of their stuff. So well, I might as well adventure. Let's adventure. He's got 2. I'm going to use 2 of these because they refill every turn. Anyway, rolling 4 dice on an adventure. And I get 5, 5, and 6 is exploding. There's a 2, that's 4 successes. He gets 1 XP. Ninja's turn. Still no 6s. Problem is, they didn't get a 5 or a 6, so I can't get a resource back from going into the forest. But that's okay. I can't move anyway, actually, so it doesn't matter because I'm in the labyrinth. So I'm going to go on an exploration again, which does mean 3 + 1 is 4, and I'm going to use an additional 1 is 5. I hate to use all my resources because then I can't defend against damage, but it's worth it. I want to win this. Ooh, that's a great roll. 4, 4. 6 is an explosion. Is a 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. We do succeed. Yay. And we've got, the treasure. So what that means is when we go into the battle against the dragon, he will get a free reroll every turn. And right now the prince just found 3 money in the treasure chest. Cool. That also means ninja gets 2 XP, so now their battle strength is up to a 3 now instead of a 2. So they may come up here and try and fight off that chimera. In any case, it's the prince's turn. Rolling for the prince. 1, 5, 5. Finally, they can get somewhere. But not down here. So I am going to have the prince go off against the chimera. Moving here so they're closer to everything else. They refill to 2. It's a battle. They are level 1, 2, 3. Starting with 3, but he refills this every turn. So using 2 to get 2 dice is 5. I need 2 successes, but just for trying this battle against the chimera, I am going to take 1 damage. I need 2 successes or I will take another damage. And I've got lots of stuff happening. Rolling 1 more black die is a 2. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 minus 1 is still 3. I do succeed on that chimera. And we've got the other dragon's lair. Doing 1 more damage to the dragon without any repercussions. Wonderful. which means down here is that weapon I'd really love to have, but that does mean now he's level 3, so he's done. Basically, all I need to do with the prince is heal up so I'm strong for the dragon, remembering as soon as I do this quest, that's it. Which means I do want to get them one more adventure XP so that when they win the quest, they will be level 3. Moving with the ninja. Still no 6s, that's great, but no 5s, which is not great. So I am going to send them here and just heal. No, 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 no. I'm not moving. I'm exploring instead, rolling 3 dice because I was already in the forest. Because I want that XP. And there's a double success right off the bat. I get an XP with no damage. That's wonderful. Prince is moving. 2, 2, and 6, which does anger the dragon. And the dragon then is attacking someone. And that went off the board. That's a 5, which is the one before. We're going to roll white for the ninja, black for the prince. Black is higher, so the prince is taking 2 damage like that. Although that's silly because he goes up to level 3, and I can block that by spending those 2. So that's fine for him. And he's just going to go here and rest. Yeah, no problem. Okay, back to the ninja. Ninja moves. No 6s, but still no 5s either. So they're just going to come down here and wait. Prince rolls. 1, 4, 4. Well, I guess I'll do the 4, 4 to come over here. Ninja's turn. 4 dice. Ooh, there's a 5. 1, 3, 4, 5 coming into the forest. Well, Prince should be, level 3 from that last one. Gets 1 resource, and their action is to look at our final quest, which is a teleporting trap. I need an exploration of 2, but if I fail, I get sent back to the main city over here. All right. That's Ninja's turn. Problem is Ninja's down 1 health already, which is a little bit of a problem. So I kind of want him to do it. And I'm going to send the ninja back to heal, but then they don't have this final resource. All this does, though, is give them 1 additional resource. But still worth having, I think. Prince takes their turn. 4, 5, 6. They do anger the dragon, but that's okay. And he's coming down here, but is not going to do that yet. Because I want the ninja healed. I want the ninja to have more resources. And potentially I want that. Ninja's turn. There is a 6, but that's great numbers. Because they can come here, here, here to heal up 1. No, boost that up 1. They are exploring in the forest for a 3. Plus 1 is 4. Yes, 2 successes, 1 fail, but let's see what I can get next. Is another success, so they get an XP, and that's their turn. Prince's turn. Two, 3, 4, nothing happens, but that's fine. He's waiting 1 final turn. Maybe 2 final turns. We'll see what happens. Ninja. Whole lot of nothing, but that's fine. They can't go anywhere. They could. They could use the 3 to go here and heal, but I'm going to do 1 final forest adventure without using any resources. And that's great. 2 successes means I get my final level. This goes up. My max is 3. Yes, let the prince take 1 more turn of nothing, except the dragon goes growl. Is a 2. Everybody roll a die. Whoever has the highest die will go back to town. Or back to, the main city. Again, white for ninja, black for the prince. Ninja's getting teleported back to the city. Okay, prince is waiting 1 more turn because we still have the ability for 4 more dragon attacks. That's pushing my luck, I know, but we're doing it anyway. I'm hoping the ninja can go into the forest, get a resource, come back and heal. And they can, but they did make the dragon a little bit angrier. But here gets them their max resource. Back to town to rest is back to health. Prince's turn. Now I gotta hope the prince can do this teleport and not get sent back to town, but let's see what happens. Dragon does get angrier, but so far we're okay. Problem is, anything I spend right now on this will not come back in the final round against the dragon because he only fills up at the start of his turn. But that's an exploration, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. And I need 2 successes. I'm going to use 1 resource. Rolling 5 dice for 2 successes. Crossing my fingers. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's great. I didn't need to waste that resource because that is a full 5 successes. That is finished. We do now have the weapon to fight the dragon, and instantly we go into the final battle against the dragon. This may be the most prepared I've ever been for the dragon battle because we've got 6 resources for the prince. He's fully leveled up. Ninja's got 3 resources, fully leveled up. Full health, full health. We are good. The dragon doesn't get a turn because we started the battle. It is the ninja's turn. He's attacking 4. 1, 2, 3. Plus 1 from here is 4. And my strongest thing here is 5, so I am going to use 1 resource. Remembering the ninja's special ability is that I get 1 free reroll every round against the dragon. And that is really bad. So we are going to reroll all of those dice. And that's not much better, because that's 2 successes and minus 2 successes, but 1 extra die is a success. So we've got 1, 2, 3, minus 2 is 1 success, which says everybody takes 1 damage. Okay, not a great way to start. Prince has got an attack of 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 1 is 5. And yeah, we'll stay with that. Let's use his stuff for defense for right now. A little bit better. That's 2 successes so far. Plus 1 die from the 6 is another success. That's 3 successes. Says little by little we're getting there. We do damage 1 to the dragon, but the dragon hits me back for 2. But I am going to block 1 of those, taking 1 damage only. Yes, back to the ninja, which was a 2, 3, plus 1 for the weapon. I don't think I want to roll that 5, the waste more. He needs defense. Let's see. That's bad. Minus 1 right now. That's 0. Which says that we take 4 damage. I get hit by both claws of the dragon. Yeah, that's horrible. Because 4 damage means 1, 2, 3, 4. He's got 1 health left, no resources left. Oh, wait a minute. No. That was stupid. That was stupid. And I know that I'm cheating, and I know that I can't do this now because I've already rolled this die. But this was a stupid roll to keep. I forgot that the ninja gets a reroll, so I am rerolling that. And that's quite a bit better. That's 3 successes, which again means I do 1 damage, which will trigger an attack. I take 2 damage, so I'll do 1 here and 1 here. And now we roll a dragon attack. Let's hope for a 1, because then the dragon does nothing. And wow, it really is a 1. We got lucky, very lucky. Prince's turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus 1 is 5. He's got lots of resources, but let's stick with the 5. 2, 6, 1, 3, 4. That's 2 successes and 1 minus. Rolling a die is another 6. Rolling a die. Off the table, rolling another die. They're all going off the table. There's a -1. That's really bad because 6, 6, 1, 1 means 0 successes. And again, that's the one that we should have seen the ninja just take right now. Both claws crash, and I take 4 damage. Which means 1, 2, 3, 4. I threw all my money at the dragon and successfully avoided damage, which is great, but we didn't do any damage to the dragon. Ninja rolling 4 again. I have to save those resources for defense. 2, 2, 2, 4 is a single success, which means we all take damage. I don't think we can stay with that. Trying again. Even worse, that's a 0. He takes 4 damage. He is 1, 2, 3, nothing. Ninja is dead. Back to the prince. Let's see what we can do. We still have to hit the dragon 5 more times. Prince starts with 5 every time, though. And that is a 3. -1 is a 2 successes. And this would be, if there were multiple characters, a chance for a sort of rally, because what this means is that every other character at the table rolls 1 die, and I add those successes to mine. But there's nobody else because the ninja's dead, which means that I stand with the +2, and with the +2, I still take 1 damage. So I take a damage, blocking it with my followers there, trying again, because ninja's still dead. Ooh, that's a nice hit. 1, 2, 3, 4 plus more is a 1. Oh man, that's a 3, which means I hit the dragon 1 more time, but the dragon hits me twice, and that is the end of the prince. Calling that an end to the game. I was doing so well, I went in so strong, but unfortunately the dice just weren't with me in this final round. That is the game. It's at this point I do like to take a look at the components. I have to say I really do love the way that this game looks. The sort of anime style of the characters looks really, really cool, but overall it's got this really cool sort of old school D&D kind of vibe to it. This map, this sort of old school hex map with very simple illustrations, but very, very cool sort of old style fantasy cartography style drawings. This dragon picture here is really, really cool to me. Just everything about the game looks really nice. Very easy to understand iconography. Of course, everything is written here. All of the information you need is right here on the board. The only thing that it's all in Japanese, which is obviously not going to help you if you don't speak Japanese. But I'm pretty sure you can find translations of stuff online. And I will tell you that Google Camera, the Translate camera, auto-translate works pretty darn well. So there's always that to fall back on as well. But otherwise, everything iconography-wise is very easy to follow, very easy to understand. Lots of nice color, but also this nice sort of old school sort of sepia wash look on everything. I'm a big fan of how everything here looks. I do want to show you, again, this was our ninja and our prince minis. Really, really cool minis. These are sort of old school. I don't know if they're pewter or not, but they definitely give me the same vibe of the old school pewter minis. I used to play a lot of Lost Worlds battle books as a kid, and I had a sort of board game that went with that had minis just like this, and it definitely brings back memories of those kinds of games. I do want to show you the other characters while we're here so you can have some idea of what else is in this game. All right, so taking a look at the other characters here, we've got the Paladin. Starts with a 5 health, max 5 health, but can go up to 6 max health at level 2 when he upgrades. He's got a 3 movement, 2 adventuring in the plains, 1 in the forest, 3 attack, 1 exploration, 2 intelligence. His attack though can go to level 4 when he gets to level 3. His resource is sort of piety or faith, I guess as the sort of religious paladin. He starts with 2 resources, max 2 resources, but at level 1 that does increase to 3. And the way that he gains resources is on his turn, he can throw away his highest valued movement die to increase resources by 1 per turn. And his special treasure is a silver shield. This is a once per game sort of ability, but he can completely negate one of the dragon's attacks during that final attack phase. Next is the gladiator. Gladiator starts with 5 health, but max of 6, can go up to 7 at level 3. 3 movement, 2 adventuring in the plains, 1 in the forest, 4 attack, 1 exploration, 1 intelligence, so she's pretty darn stupid, but very, very strong. She has no resources because she's going to instead just have really strong life and attack. But it does say that anytime she goes adventuring in the plains, she heals 1. So she doesn't have to go to the inn all the time to rest up. She is sort of healing as she's adventuring through the plains. And her special item is mammoth meat. And this says that when you go into the final battle against the dragon, she fills back up to max health at the start of that battle phase. And that says that even if we get to this rampage spot and the dragon starts the battle with double attacks, her filling up health starts or happens before those 2 attacks. So she'll be full strength before anything the dragon does, which is pretty cool. And then finally here is the hunter. She starts at life 5, her max life is 5, 3 movement, 2 adventure in both plains and forests. She's got 2 attack, 2 exploration, 2 intelligence, so pretty much well-balanced kind of character. She does get additional attack in level 1, additional search in level 2, and another additional attack in level 3. I should go back to the gladiator and show you that she also gets an additional search here and additional attack. So with this attack, that's a 4 plus 1, plus the dragon weapon. She could have a 6 attack standard in the final battle. But anyway, back to the hunter. Her resources are bullets. She starts with 3 bullets. She can have up to 3 bullets. And her thing is anytime she rests in a town or a city, in addition to gaining 2 life, she will refill her resources back to maximum. And her special weapon or special item is a venom bullet. During that final battle against the dragon, once per game, not once per turn, but once per the entire game, when you roll the dice for that skill check, she can change the face of any 1 die to a 6. So basically forcing that critical explosion to happen at least once, 1 battle or sort of 1 attack per game. So those are all the characters. Let me show you the minis for those 3 as well. These are them here. This is the paladin here with these sort of cool sort of rooks on his shoulders. Here we've got the gladiator, and this right here with the gun and the sword is the hunter. Again, really, really cool pewter minis. Now the pewter is a little bit soft, which means you don't get super detail, but there's just something about these old metal minis that makes me very happy. Otherwise, the only other component that does come in the box are the other 2 quest tiles, which I want to show you, but also this player aid. And basically all this is just a big version of all of the different tables that are already on the board. So you can pass this around to people so they don't have to be able to see the board from where they're sitting. Then the last 2 quests that were not in this play but could be are the sort of large group of goblins. That is an attack check, needs 3 successes, and it says when you fail you take 1 damage. And the other one here is this sort of golem guardian. Again, attack check, 3 successes, and this one says every time you attempt this, you take 1 damage. So that's all of the quests in the game. That's basically all there is to show you. I do want to show you the insert for this game because I do like the way that it looks. But I want to point out here I did get this used, and I do have also altered things just a bit to make the first expansion that I got fit into the box. So just quickly, when you're looking here, I do have some tiles from the expansion, and these are 2 additional characters, the samurai and the shaman that I have in an expansion, which may come to a video at some point on this channel as well. These tiles as well are some additional quests from that expansion. But you'll see here there is a tray that comes in the box. This did have a sort of white piece of like regular styrofoam in there holding that space open. But you can see that each of the different token types has a location. The dice have locations. Each of these little gems areas have locations. And the minis then are also marked with the artwork of the characters. I don't know if these foam pieces came standard in the game or if that's something that the previous owner put in them, but the minis fit into those slots very well. Nothing all that fancy or special, but I do love it when an organizer has these sort of printings on them, so you know where things go. So big thumbs up from me on that. It does hold the game fairly well, and I was able to squeeze one more expansion in here, although I do know this game has a ton of expansion content, and I do want to get some of it at some point, but I've seen in Japan there's actually this giant like bag with like plastic organizers that fit inside the bag to store all of the different pieces, because in addition to just regular expansions, you can also get dice that are specifically sort of colored and designed that each different character gets their own set of dice and so on. This game has a huge fandom in Japan, and again, I'd like to show off more of it on this channel, but that is basically all I can show you from this base game. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game itself. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough. So here we go, a sort of cooperative, old school Dungeons and Dragons styled hex crawl, dice-based skill check cooperative game in which you find yourselves as a bunch of heroes wandering around the map, going on adventures at random locations on the board, heading out to go on quests at specific locations, which then when you succeed on both adventures and quests will give your characters experience points, leveling up their skills and giving them special abilities along the way, while also getting rewards from the quests that give you a special weapon to fight against the dragon, give you sort of additional knowledge from a book to fight against the dragon that increases your XP. You find a treasure chest along the way that gives you special abilities and special things to fight off against the dragon, but ultimately you're trying your best to level up your character and get as many of these special sort of boosts and helps along the way, so that at the end of the game you do go into battle against this giant dragon and do your best to try and slay the dragon before you yourselves are slain by the dragon instead. That said, as you're questing, you're sort of slowly awakening the dragon, and the dragon is sort of getting angrier and angrier, and if you push the dragon to a certain level, the dragon will then become enraged and will attack you before you're ready to go into battle, meaning that you're going to start the battle by being attacked as an ambush, and then of course you're not going to be quite as powered up going into this fight against the dragon at the end. That said, all of this game is based on die rolls. The movement around the board, which will be determining where you can go on the map, but then also if you roll sixes during that movement phase, you will also be angering the dragon, pushing that end game closer and closer, and also triggering occasional dragon attacks while you're doing that. Then after you've moved and you take actions, both the adventuring and the questing are going to be based on skill checks that are die-based, rolling a number of dice equal to sort of your skill in whatever, or skill level in whatever skill that particular quest or adventure requires. And each of the heroes in this game does offer a different sort of set of stats that will give them different leveled skills in these different types of skills. But again, all of this is going to be based on a die roll system. So everything in this game, and I'm coming up right front and saying this, is very, very random. This is an old school style sort of Ameritrash, roll a bunch of dice and see what happens kind of adventure game. And you need to know that going into this game, because that's what this game is and that's what this game brings. And if you as a person don't like that kind of game, this is absolutely not going to be the game for you. Do I enjoy that kind of game? Generally, I tend to be more towards the Euro side of thing, or at least in this world, more towards the narrative-heavy kind of thing. And while there is some backstory here as far as what the characters are and sort of where the dragons come from and so on, if you do read into the instruction manual in there, there's quite a bit of lore. The game itself has very little narrative happening unless you're sort of telling the story as you go of you guys adventuring and ultimately fighting off against the dragon. So I'm not here for the sort of crunchy mechanisms. I'm not here for the narrative. Is this something that I would normally like? I don't know, but it definitely brings back a lot of what I did as a kid. I played a lot of Hero Quest with my father as a child, and I definitely got into a lot of this chuck a bunch of dice and see what kind of happens kinds of games in the past, and this brings that back to me. It's not a great game as far as mechanisms are concerned, but I have a lot of fun with this game. I played this game a ton with my 6-year-old son. I played this game a ton with our 11-year-old neighbor, 10 or 11-year-old neighbor. They both really get into this game. Everybody I've played with it had a lot of fun playing, but it is very much a dice-checking random fest, and that's what you're going to have to know going into this game. But there are some fun things about it. This whole system of well, the movement basically potentially triggering the dragon means that you have to be careful. Well, you can't be careful because you're rolling every round. There's no way to be careful. You just kind of have to cross your fingers that the dragon's not getting angry when you're moving around the board. Because even if you choose not to move, you're still rolling that movement set of dice at the beginning. But the movement does matter because you're trying to get to the different quests on the board. And you're also potentially trying to get certain locations on the board because there are plains areas and forest areas. And the forest areas are harder to get into, means you need a higher value of your movement die to get in there. But depending on which character you have, you might be stronger or more skilled at adventuring in the plains or more skilled at adventuring in the forests. And even more specifically, the ninja that I played with in my playthrough, in addition, every time they go into the forest, they gain more resources. And the resources are going to be used to add additional dice into skill checks and also potentially to defend against any damage that you take along the way. And I'll get back to the resources in a minute. But then in addition to that, you're going to quests, and before you get to the quest, well, no, the quests are all face down except for one of them, but after you've gone next to one of these quests, you're going to flip it over as a potential action on your turn. And then there are several different actions. Adventuring in random places means at plains or in the forests. Sort of scouting out or exploring the quests, and then triggering the quests. And then if you're in a city or a town, you can rest and gain health back. So those are sort of the options you have on your turn. So you're going to go out to these quests and figure out what they are. But once you've seen what the quests are, you know what the skills required for that test are or for that quest are. So then you have to sort of pay attention to which characters are going where and how they're going to take care of these quests, making sure that the more skilled people are taking care of the quests that connect to the skills that they're strong in. And it is just going to be a skill die roll to see if you succeed or not. So if you roll well, you will succeed easily, and if you don't, you won't. But at the same time, you've got this resource system I was talking about. And each of the different characters or each of the different heroes has a different type of resource. And it doesn't really matter what the resource is because they all work the same. But you can spend resources at a rate of one resource equals one additional die for any skill check that you're spending it on. So you can have a whole bunch of dice and hope that you're rolling a bunch to succeed. Now, if the dragon's track is going up fast, means you keep rolling sixes during those movements, then you probably want to spend as many resources as you can to start rolling bigger handfuls of dice to be more likely to succeed. But if not, then you might not want to. If you know that you still got time in the game and you can take your time, then maybe you want to save those resources a little bit more to use them to protect yourself in the case of you getting damaged. Or just hold on to them for later on when you go into the battle against the dragon, because once you've gone into battle against the dragon, you have no way of sort of rebuilding or regrowing or collecting any more resources. So you want to have as many resources as possible before going into battle against the dragon. And for many of the quests, well, for all of the quests, if you fail at succeeding all of the times that you need to succeed to pass that quest, you do put as many successes as you have on that quest. So the next time you attempt the quest, you will have fewer successes you need to get because you're slowly building up on the quests. Except that each of these quests has sort of unique rules to it. Some of the quests will damage you every time you attempt the quest. Or some of the quests will damage you when you fail to completely succeed or fail to finish that quest. Which means that if I go into one of those that's damaging me, every time I attempt it's going to damage me, well, maybe when I really want to spend a lot of resources to do my best to make sure I can succeed completely in that quest in a single try. But even still, I might take my time to save resources because I know that I can always go to a city and heal up 2 hit points every turn I'm in a city if that's the action I've chosen for that turn. So there's definitely this sort of level of how much do I want to push to make sure I succeed, whereas how much should I hold back to slowly get things done, making sure to heal up and so on along the way. Because the resources are going to come back in different ways for every different person. I said that everybody has different resources, and they use them the same way, but the way you refill the resources is going to be very different for every character. The ninja gets a resource once per turn if they move into the forests. The paladin gets a resource once per turn if they discard their highest valued movement die. The prince auto-refills resources up to their current level. The hunter gets resources every time they rest, refilling to completely full on their resources. The gladiator has no resources. And I think, am I forgetting one? No, that's it. So those are all of the different ways you're going to get resources. So you have to sort of plan your movement around the map and your interaction with these characters to make sure you're constantly getting as many resources as possible, to make sure your health is continuously refilled as much as possible, so that when you go into battle against the dragon, you're as prepared as possible, while also trying to complete all 5 of the quests, because the 5 quests will let you do 2 damage to the dragon before the battle starts, will give you 1 experience point, will give you 1 additional attack skill value when you're fighting off against the dragon. It means you're rolling 1 additional die every time you attack the dragon. And then the final one is going to give each of the characters a unique ability of some kind. Aside from the prince is just going to get a second resource that refills or fills up 3 more resources when you open the chest. But the ninja is going to be able to re-roll their dice once per turn in that final battle against the dragon. The hunter has a venom bullet that allows them to set 1 die to a 6, means they get an automatic explosion die in just once per game, 1 round of battle against the dragon. The paladin will be able to completely cancel 1 dragon attack during the final battle, which could be huge because there is a level 4 attack and there is an insta-kill attack from the dragon during that final battle as well. And the gladiator, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the gladiator's ability. If it comes back to me, I'll say it again. But the point is, each of these characters has a very unique, different way that they're interacting with the game. And it really does make things slightly different. I said really does slightly different. It really does make things feel different depending on the mix of characters that you're playing with. And now, generally, I've been playing this 2-player. And it might be more fun playing 3 or 4 or even all 5 against the dragon because you do have the ability to sort of level up and do different things. And I think also it might tend towards the easier side with more characters because it does mean you have ultimately more total health that you can absorb. But it does also mean that, remember, there's only 5 quests and each of those give 2 experience points. Everything else, all of the other experience comes from one-off 1 XP, 1 XP, 1 XP from the regular adventure. So the more characters you have, the more work it's going to be to level up those characters. So having more characters might mean you've got weaker characters with more health, but still weaker characters. So there is definitely some balancing that happens with player counts, but I haven't yet played it at higher player counts. But ultimately, this game is going to be very random based on lots of die rolls. And this game is brutally hard. I've only ever beaten this game once, and that was by the skin of our teeth. I died as I dealt my final blow, and if we hadn't hit them and killed the dragon that turn, we would have lost the game. So this game is incredibly hard, is incredibly random, but there's just something about it that I love. It looks great, it feels great. It's really fun to just chuck a bunch of dice on the table and see what happens, cheering when things go your way, groaning when things don't. I enjoy this game quite a bit. And now it's not purely soloable as in the box. There is an expansion, however, though, that gives you a sort of extra powerful character that you can play solo. And there is another expansion that adds in sort of companions or familiar characters or something along those lines that are sort of smaller, less complicated sort of assistant characters. So you could take a character and take some of those assistants and play that way solo as well. But ultimately, there's not a whole lot of stuff to take care of in this game, so it really isn't that hard to play this game multi-handed. So multi-handed solo plays very, very well, and it doesn't really change anything if you're controlling all of those characters yourself, because there isn't a whole lot of rules overhead happening here. It is just a fun romp, adventure, hex crawl kind of game, and I'm loving it. This game has a ton and more tons of expansions, super lots of characters, more maps you can get. There's even more dragons. I've got an expansion for this, and I've only got one that adds 2 characters, but it also adds bigger dragons. So if I do get more characters, I think the first dragon you can play with like 6 to 8 people maybe, and the second dragon is huge, and you can play with 9 to 11 people on the same game and the same board, same map. What have you, huge adventuring party going out against these enormous dragons. I'm very excited to try it out. I don't know if I'll ever have that many people to sit down and play a game of this with me, but it's stupid fun. I love it. It looks cool, it feels cool. I love rolling all of these dice. There's not a whole lot of decision making to be had. There is some, but ultimately it's very, very output randomness heavy. But there's something about it that's incredibly charming, and I really want to see the more characters, and I really want to see more maps, and I really want to see the other stuff that they've added in, because they continue putting out more and more and more stuff for this game. And there's a reason that it's as I don't know what popular, but at least there's a reason that it's in every game store and very easily and very obviously available in Japan. I'm glad that I grabbed it. It will absolutely stay in my collection. My son loves this game. As I said, our neighbor's kid loves this game, and it will definitely continue to get played. It's going to be harder for me to track down some of the expansions, or most of the expansions, but I do occasionally go to Japan, so hopefully I'll be able to grab some of those as well. I also really want to get some of the personalized dice. Each character has specifically colored and specifically symboled dice sets that you can get for each of the different heroes. Anyway, I'm gushing a bit. It's kind of silly that I like this game as much as I do because there's not that much in it, but there's something about it that's just charming and fun, and I still enjoy playing this a lot. So that's basically all I have to say about this one. As always, I hope that this video was helpful for you. If it was, I do ask that you remember to please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks.